garage ceiling drywall repair. This is my setup. Nice little gorilla ladder and a Baker scaffold. I love this thing. This ceiling is about, I don't know, 10 and a half, maybe, yeah, it's probably about 10 and a half feet up. So I like having a floor to walk on. And what this is a homeowner's repair. They wanted to sell, and the repair was questionable. So they called in reinforcements. Luckily, I only have to remove the middle piece. The rest I'm going to be able to just skim coat to get this thing looking nice and flat, so I don't have to take this whole entire piece out. But I love doing drywall repair, and maybe it's only because I do the drywall repair that I want, because I created the job, right? And it got me thinking, why didn't being an employee work out for me? You know, it works out for a lot of people, and I'm not saying that everybody needs to quit their job and try to be an entrepreneur or just try to create their own job. But some people are in a position like I was, where the job isn't fulfilling, it doesn't pay enough, there's no movement, there's no raises, you're bored. I mean, there's all sorts of situations where you might want to go ahead and try to do something on your own. And that's how it worked out for me. So let's get into it a little bit. Now, for me, boredom was probably my number one nemesis when it came to having a regular job. Like, you know, as of course with this handyman business, I do something different all the time, which is probably why I don't get tired of doing these drywall repairs, because I don't do this every single day. Now, being bored on the job, I mean, sometimes you're just gonna be bored. I mean, it's just what it is. It's not like you're there for your entertainment. But at the same time, you're gonna spend a whole lot of time there. And I found out, like, I was working at a call center. I don't know if any of you guys ever worked at call center. You're just taking calls all the time. And I'm telling you, after, it was exciting for the first, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks. It didn't take long for that change to occur. And I'm telling you, I couldn't take another. It's like I didn't want to answer the phone no more. I was so tired of just doing the same routine of taking call after call after call. And it was customer service. It wasn't like I was calling other people or anything like that. And man, it got to the point. Now, this is another disclaimer. I never said I was the greatest employee, right? So I'm not blaming the businesses or everybody I work for me not being able to make it as an employee, all right? At this call center, we had something called, I don't know if you worked at the call center, it had something called after call, which was the amount of time that you were supposed to, like, okay, basically you take your whole shifts, 8 hours. The amount of percentage of time that you were supposed to be on a call was like 96%. So they wanted your after call, which would mean when you weren't on a phone call, to be 4% of the time. Y'all, my after call was 50%. It was terrible, man. And it was just because I was just like, look, I can't take another call. Now, my total time I was working there was like, I don't know, I think 9 months or something like that. But I literally used to just sit at my cubicle, man, and just read a magazine. Like, this is, I can't do it. And luckily, look, I ain't gonna front. I took the advantage. I had a supervisor that was, you know, she was feeling your boy. You know what I mean? She liked me a little bit, so she would actually walk by and say, hey, when you're done reading that magazine, can you mind if I take it? Oh man, playing the system. So I was like, yeah. But then eventually her supervisor ended up calling me in the office, and I literally argued while my after call was at 50%. And believe it or not, I didn't get fired. I didn't get fired, but I ended up quitting not that much longer. And by the way, I was 19, all right? Not that justifies everything, but I hadn't matured to where I am now, or as a grown man yet, all right? But that was the thing. Boredom. I just couldn't get past it. All right, I mean, there was no solution for it in my mind. I told y'all in another video about the box machine and me standing there, and that only lasted a week. At least this one I did last about, 9 months. Another issue for me was control. Now, when it came to raises or control over money, now I'm gonna take you back a little bit, man. One of the first jobs I had was working at McDonald's, and it wasn't bad, especially at the time, is in the mid-90s. It was full of teenagers, man. I go in, I only worked like on Saturday and Sunday morning, and it was like me and like 20 or 25 other kids. It was a good time, but man, they would play with your money so much. They would like I said, they would have all these people in there, 20, 25 people, and then 3 hours in after the lunch rush, they'd be like, all right, well, now we got to start sending people home because it's not busy and there's too many people here. But what do you mean? What do you mean? I was only making $4.25 an hour. So you send me home after 3 hours, that's $12 before taxes. You know what I'm saying? That's ridiculous. What am I supposed to do with that? I didn't like the idea of somebody having that kind of power over whether I made money that day or not. And this is, like I said, I realized this, I was like 15. Now, y'all might think I'm petty for this other one, but hey, I was working at a metal plant and I was supposed to get, it's my money, okay? I was supposed to get, I was making like $11 an hour. This is like a little further down the road. And it was time for the raises to come and we did everything, evaluations, and I was supposed to get 25 cents. And they, instead of giving me $11.25, they gave me $11.23. And it just it just ate at my soul. So when I talked to my supervisor about it, see, this is those things. It's like I said, these workplace environments where little things that have nothing to do with anything that'll trip you up. There's another reason why being an employee didn't work for me. Now, I started on day shift, and it's a plant that has graveyard shift. And a lot of people, if you worked at a plant, sometimes those day shift jobs are coveted. And it's like there's a rite of passage. You got to go to graveyard shift first. Well, I didn't do that. I skipped straight to day shift because they needed a CNC operator, and I had experience already. So, but my supervisor just from day one didn't like me because of it, and that was it. So when I told him about, hey man, the 23 cents, they're supposed to be giving me 25, and I wanted to find out what the issue was. His response was, some guys are just happy to have a job. I mean, you did start on day shift. I mean, it took me 8 years of working graveyard shift before I got on day shift. I didn't have nothing to do with nothing. All right. So I couldn't get the money, and I had a supervisor that had an issue, and it was more than that. But these things like this, it just didn't work out for me, man. It just wouldn't work. Raises were a big one. I mean, raises and upward mobility, a lot of times I had jobs. I was at a job for like 14 years where this supervisor was the only place to go. It was like, I had my job, I got my job, and 2 years into the job, I was at the top level of that position. There wasn't a different department to transfer to. What I did, it didn't transfer to other departments. So the only way to move up was for this guy to either retire or die. I didn't wish death on him, y'all. I didn't do that. So I would just hope he retired at some point. And that kind of just waiting. You're just in limbo. You're just stuck, just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting year after year. Just time is passing. And all that time, I could have just been doing my own thing. By the way, Daryl, also known as the Finisher, I've been getting so caught up in this conversation, I forgot to announce myself. Hey, like, comment, subscribe. Y'all know I stay in the comments and subscribe so we can keep spreading this Handyman 2.0 message. In the background, y'all, you see me, I'm doing the drywall repair. I love the level 5 skimming blades. That's what I'm using for this ceiling right here. Not a sponsor or nothing like that. I just like them because one reason is I'm gonna use them. You don't have to have them, but I'm gonna use them because guess what? I paid a lot of money for these things, so I use them every chance I get. But they do give you a good finish, man, when you're just trying to do a skim coat. All right. The worst one was, it had to be when I was working at Sears. This gave me a wake-up call really early in my career. I was 18, 19. I got a job at Sears they called it security, but then they switched it to asset protection and then started just giving us a whole bunch of work that they had nothing to do with security. Like, managing departments, all kind of stuff. Anyway, I was doing this job, right? And when I got the job, they didn't have a supervisor. Well, no, let me not say that. They had a supervisor, they didn't have a manager. And the supervisor ended up leaving a couple months later. So we didn't have any supervisor or manager. I was doing everything. I was the only full-time employee. I was doing everything from like making the schedule. I mean, I'm doing everything, working with the new employees coming in, all sorts of things, and opening the store. I had the keys to the store and everything. Then they finally decided to hire for the position of supervisor and told me I was too young. That's it. No other reason. I was just too young. Then I had to train a different manager to come in and take the job. First of all, he tried to kill me, but that's a story for another day. Secondly, he ended up getting fired anyway, but it put a sour taste in my mouth and made me just not want to just have somebody have that kind of control over everything. Everything. It was office politics, it was the money, raises, it was upward movement. All these different things combined to force me to go out and just do my own thing. And let me tell you something. It's not like, that I created my own job and it was just a walk in the park. No. I created my own job and man, it's double, triple the amount of work, especially starting out. So it's not like you're gonna get some kind of reprieve or something like that. You do this sort of thing because you're really looking for a solution. I'm gonna go ahead and let that skim coat dry, all nice and clean and smooth. I'll sand it later and the homeowner's gonna paint, which is a beautiful thing. Now, if you don't have a skill, I'm gonna put a video up here to tell you why I think you need one. Until next time, stay safe, be blessed, and remember, if the trades don't work, nothing else does.